Well, howdy y'all! Welcome to another high-powered episode of the High Voltage Live Show. I'm your host, Willie Snyder from NEC Code, coming to you live from the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. Joined by my awesome co-host with the King James Saw Cup over there in Longhorn Country. Giving old hook 'em horns from the Mile High City. I'll give you a double them up, bro. Appreciate you. It's really awesome that you put all these together, and look who we have already sneaking on in here, try to get another W against you. So
he's gonna try. He might get there. I don't know.
I don't know. It's definitely Shark Week. You're gonna probably have to bring your lucky coin this week. I'm doing on Major League Baseball playoffs.
Oh, okay.
So I figured since the Major League Baseball was going on, we'd do that. But the clip of the week isn't even from a code guy. It's from
also did it without his number one wide receiver, Mike Evans. And you got to give credit to this rookie sensation wide receiver out of Ohio State, Emeka Egbuka.
And it was funny because like all the guys, it was funny because all the guys in the studio and like NFL Live were like, Emeka who? What? And it was so funny. It was like he was combining Abuka and and Scatterboo. But, it was really funny. Like, Scatterboo just had an awesome game, had a really awesome time in fantasy. So that was pretty cool. And, like I say, I really appreciate everyone, participating in the Myth of the Week. So I don't know if you saw the picture that I had for the Myth of the Week, but it's like a piece of Carflex. And Carflex is like a brand. It's non-metallic. Liquidite is basically what the code refers to it as, but they had a cord cap on it, and it was plugged into a receptacle, and it was really funny because it was actually an advertisement for an electrical contractor, and I'm just like, oh really? You just do whatever you want, and everyone should hire you, huh? But yep. It was pretty funny. So I appreciate all the participation. Like literally, like broke the internet last night when I posted up. Because everyone was commenting and, some people were like, what's Carflex? And I probably should have referred to it as like the, proper term as non-metallic liquidite. But, it's one of those things that I try to not to be too stuffy on the code. Like you get some of these guys out there, they just non-stop code. And I try to, make learning fun. So if you guys want to check out my NEC Code page on Facebook, like if you're studying for a journeyman, studying for an exam, go check out the NEC Code page on there. All you have to type in is Google me 123 and it'll come up. And I have, I think, 360 questions in there over the last 6 years. So I try to do a lot, and then, Facebook obviously kicked me off, so I can't really add to it, but it's pretty good. I'm still getting a check from them, so I'm not complaining. But it's a lot of fun. It's code's a lot of fun. As like some of you guys who are new joining the show, what I do is I pick a random code question. I try to find the hardest one I possibly can, and then I ask King James live. And then what we do is we ask ChatGTP live, and we call it Man vs. Machine segment. So If you want, you could fast forward about an hour in and just check that out. But we try to keep it structured to where you guys can watch like whatever you want on the show, and we just try to bring segments that are kind of short, and you can fast forward around and check them out. You could have 2 straight hours of Jeremy being an idiot arguing with you too. So you could pick your poison, whatever you want, but
there's a lot of that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, to me, honestly, the fact that we won in the 2026 and we got what we wanted was so hilarious. And like the thing that's funny is they're saying, "Oh, well, this Nat King code, he's not very intelligent," and it's like, yeah, but I got what I wanted. I got exactly, and Weedman was saying, "Oh man, they're not gonna listen to a burnout from Colorado," but guess what, Jeremy? They did, and I got what I wanted. So I actually sent an email to the Standards Council and told them like, "Hey, the reason that I submitted public input 1644 was because I believe the outlet is installed." And guess what they did? They went over there to 210.8F and they changed it to outlet installed. And that was so awesome because the reason they changed it was because the code making panel passed it as it was written. And then what they did was they rejected what the code making panel did, said they didn't have technical merit and didn't substantiate the need for a change in 62554, put it back how it was, and voila, there you go, Jeremy, I won. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted from the whole code cycle. And it's pretty cool because I was talking to the inspector from Denver, and I was like, now it says outlets installed, and he's like, ooh, he goes, that changes things. And I was like, yeah,
It does.
it 100% does. And so it's pretty funny that all these guys are sitting there trying to, like kind of what you wanted to say on the last one was CYA, cover your ass. And the whole thing is that they tried and it's not happening now. They try to put this exception in. Now they double down on it, saying you can have all these solutions if it doesn't work on Class A. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. It's so dumb because they're like, oh, well, we gave you solutions, but guess what? The Standards Council rejected them to close the window in 2026, and they extended it, I think, to 2032. And so that's pretty hilarious that they went all different ways backwards on what code making panel 2, basically it's all the code making panels, it's all the voting members of NFPA. And so they rejected everything that the voting members at NFPA wanted to do in the CAM and the NITMAM cycle. They appealed it, and the HVAC manufacturers won, and Tesla and ChargePoint won. And guess what they're not doing? They're not doing Class A protection on HVAC equipment in 2026, 2027, 2028. So, it's pretty funny that, these guys, that's funny, so.
It was interesting because I remember when the first portion come out and their comment was on it, and I made a comment to them. I said, now the way I read this is installed beforehand. And apparently that freaked them out when I said that, because the way it did read was
I'm
exactly
not lying,
that
Jeremy.
way.
The outlet is installed, Jeremy. What am I lying about? I'm not lying. I put it in there for 62554B, and it got rejected, and it got changed back. So if you want to say I'm lying, that prove it, bro, because I'm not. So.
Well, the thing is with Jeremy's sort of like a little bit of a hack, and he's trying to cover for his buddies is basically what it comes down to. And it's just like he's sitting there arguing with me on the groups and stuff right now, and one of the things he's arguing about is calculating the load. And
right.
He still fails to answer, when you calculate that load, what is it used for? he won't give any answer on that. And the reason he's not going to give an answer is for one reason and one reason only, because it ain't used for a damn thing. And it goes back to, like I was saying, when we did the podcast on that, was it last week? I think we did it. I brought up the fact, I said, when you look at that and you do the calculation, the IEI book says, oh, this is the actual load. And they tell you this, then they drop down and says, oh, but hey, when you're going to size the conductors and overcurrent device, you got to put 125% on it. No shit. I mean, that's just going back on something that you do. See, look, you calculate the load for surge branch circuit. No kidding. And if you go look at Article 220, it specifically starts in Part 2, which deals with branch circuits. And then Part 3 deals with your feeders and services. That tells you to use what was in Part 2, Jeremy. Go back and listen to it. Are you going to tell me that all that in Article 220, where it's telling you to calculate those loads, it doesn't apply? And then you look at that and we'll say, looking at the 2026, you look at table 120.4, it has the other articles and refers you to the sections to do the calculations. And that's before you get to 125E. I mean, yeah, but when you adjust ampacity, you factor 120.
He just doesn't even know what to say.
That goes show he has no freaking clue. Yeah. Jeremy, when you're doing that, where does it refer you to do that? In Part 2 of Article 120. And then you go over and look at 210.19, A1, A, and B. That's where you go and you look for figuring that in. And that has nothing to do with the 125%. Okay? The 125% is that they're talking about there deals with that table. Table 120.42A, where they deleted the note. We went through all this last week. I showed everybody where it come from, where it was deleted, and guess what, Jeremy? Nobody argued. Matter of fact, we have people that have sent messages, agreed with us and everything, that they didn't even know that took place. And the only person that wants to argue about it is you and IEI and all you hacks over there, the ECD boys. Because you were proven wrong, and y'all can't stand that Bill and I are taking y'all to school. That's basically what's happening.
It's pretty funny, but we'll move on, And what's funny? I've showed Weedman like plenty of messages, and what's funny is one of the messages I showed him was from DJ85, who's in the chat right now. So. Like you're calling DJ85 a liar that he didn't send me a message saying that you're a freaking union idiot. So, I mean, he said, oh man, he's really mad and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, dude. Yeah, really. That's exactly what happened, bro. So,
well, if you want
to just keep making the union look bad, go for it, bro.
I just want to point something out. And this is why I say Jeremy is a simp, and for this reason only. He simps for Mike Ryan. Them. I want everybody to pay real close attention to what I'm about to say. If you ever notice, Jeremy never goes to any of them other sites, says anything to them or anything, but he does show up to one, and that's our site and our groups. And all he does is come in and try to disparage towards us with all his rhetoric and everything else. And, I'm going to give you a good example. And what this is coming down to, and it has to do with Bill and I both, but mainly it's dealing with our publications, because they try to push these other publications. They don't want you to see our publications because they know they're the best ones out there. So when that happened, what happened when we started doing this podcast? I've never said one word about this guy or anything. And what did Paul Abernathy do? He come in and he started calling me all this stuff and riding days, called this everything you could think of, and I've never said a word about it.
Oh,
And
he was telling you to come down to McKinney and go get in his space or something.
yeah,
And it's
he
like,
wouldn't
really?
want that.
No, I know.
But
And it's funny because he actually moved back to wherever he's
Virginia.
from, like Virginia or whatever. But the whole thing that's funny is when I see like Weed Man. Have you ever seen that meme where it has that cat and the cat's just like typing really fast on the computer?
Yep.
That's totally Weed Man because right here he says, "Where did is say that?" You know, so he's like missing letters and it's just so funny.
Have you noticed, and this is a fact, which publications do people want to scrutinize the most? The stock
Here,
rates.
yeah.
You know why that is?
Because you were the only ones that were published by NFPA, and nobody else could say that.
Well, it's not only that, because people actually use our publications to learn and get the right answers. Because we cover things that other publications don't, and we correlate with all the other additional standards. It's just like Jeremy. He come on there and he goes, 110.3B, OSHA and 70E have nothing to do with that. He has no clue what he's talking about. I've gone in on this podcast and gone through the OSHA rules and everything, and even Ryan Jackson, which you didn't call him out, Jeremy. We told you about it. You say, you never told me. Yeah, we did. We told you. Ryan even went through and said he couldn't find anywhere in the National Electrical Code where it had anything to talk about the nurdles and everything. And I said, and what did I say? I said, of course he didn't. I said, because Ryan Jackson doesn't know how the other codes and standards correlate and reflect how you apply the National Electrical Code also. And you have to go to OSHA, and they tell you what you go through there. And then they tell you everybody that's involved to design the testing procedures for whatever type of equipment that they're going to do. And those testing procedures include all industries, including people that are familiar with the National Electrical Code. So all these experts they put on there that actually have knowledge on what they're doing. They tell you no GFCI protection. Then you got a few code making panel members and people like Jeremy, Brian Rock, and all these others saying, oh no, the code overrides that. So basically what you're saying is the code making panels say we're smarter than the guys that are actually experts that go in and make these determinations, and we don't agree with their assumptions and how they wrote that testing procedure. So therefore, the people that these code making panel members that had no
industry
put any effort into designing
expertise.
Yeah, or expertise, but putting any type of expertise into designing the testing procedure, all of a sudden they're smarter than the ones that actually have the expertise to do that. That's basically what's being said. And Jeremy will not comment on that. He just says it had OSHA and that has nothing to do with it. Well, if that's the case, Jeremy, why does the code even have the terms listing and labeling? Why is it in there? Why does it refer you to all these other standards if they don't use them? A good example. Let me give one more good example here. And maybe you can answer this, Jeremy. Let's see how smart you are. Since you think these standards have nothing to do with the code. Okay? Let's say I'm going to determine a Class 1 Div 1 location. Do you do that by the National Electrical Code, Jeremy, or do you do that by another NFPA standard? Mic drop. Once again, proven Jeremy is an apprentice instructor. He doesn't go out and deal with all these facilities and everything that have to deal with 70E. They have to deal with OSHA requirements. If you're in Alaska, it's ACOSH. If you're dealing with the hazardous location, you got NFPA 496, 497, 499. You get into gas codes and all this other stuff. And you have to look at those when you're doing design of locations and of equipment. So, and the reason I brought that up, if I take Jeremy and let's say I do a custom-made piece of equipment and it's in the oil and gas industry, and they bring in experts, which know probably better than the people at UL that are putting the field applied label on it. they come in and they design a piece of equipment. They say, don't put any GFCI protection on it. It's outside. You're going to tell me that these code making panel members that have no freaking clue of what they're doing to the design of that equipment, that you're going to require GFCI protection, and that overrides that field installed, listed and labeled piece of equipment they just designed. You're smoking some heavy weed right there, brother.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you.
Yeah, one thing that I want to say too is that they got totally shot down by the Standards Council in 2026. And it's funny because they got their way. They were very vague. They were very crafty in 2020. You know, they kept it in 2023. But now they just got shot down in 2026. And we were instrumental in shooting them down. And now they're all mad and they can't stand it because we're the ones responsible for getting this stuff changed. And now Jeremy's just going to pretend like in 2023 they said the outlets installed, and then all of a sudden, oh, now the outlet's not installed anymore. You know, it's just so ridiculous, you know. I mean, why did they remove 62554B, Jeremy? You know? So.
Sorry about that. My dad, he didn't have his keys. I had to let him in.
No, you're good. But, you know, that's the whole thing is why did they delete 62554B if what you guys are saying is right? If there's this big hazard at the outlet that you're saying there's an outlet there, the Standards Council says there's no outlet, Jeremy. They say there's no outlet that needs protection or anything. So how do you say
Can I say something on that? They also made the statement to look at the listing and labeling and the product certification of the manufacturer's instructions.
Yeah.
And they tell you not to put GFCI protection on it. Now, if they referred that and said that's what you need to look at, plus they said there was no redundant GFCI protection required either. But you go look at that, all of a sudden, how is the Standards Council going to be able to make that type of statement when y'all been telling us this whole time that 210.8F, the National Electrical Code, overrides it?
Yeah. And it's the same. Then the Standards Council overrode the same people that are unanimously voting this. They could be in the neighborhood of 600 voting members at NFPA, and they said they failed to substantiate a code change for outlet. And that's so funny because now all of a sudden they didn't do it there. What do you think is going to happen when an inspector comes and tells me, oh, no, Bill, you need a GFCI on that AC unit? I'm going to be like, nah, man, that was overturned by the Standards Council. And I'll show them the decision and the ruling and everything, and you guys are done.
This is another good one for you to think about, Jeremy. You come on and said that you told me that the General Assembly, they all voted that I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And I told you at that time, and here's another good one, politicking. That's what it is. They go out politic these people and get them talking to them to get them to vote a certain way. And here they go and vote in a General Assembly. Y'all tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. And I said, when it gets to Standards Council, that'll get overturned. What did he say? They told me I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. That's 2 cycles in a row I told you what was going to happen. And it happened exactly the way I said. And then, this is the best part, then they come back and then they say, we never said that.
Yeah.
And people, anybody watching this podcast or following the group, you know everything I'm telling you is true.
And touchdown Steelers.
All right.
So Steelers just got in the end zone. So let's move on to the meme, I guess.
Right.
I think you'll like this one.
Okay.
Dude, you would not believe how many times that happened. I was doing a project and I was having trouble getting meters. And I think there was like 4 tenant spaces and there was one big like building. And so I just needed like 5 meters, I think. And I call into a buddy I knew from the utility and I'm like, hey man, I'm really trying to get these meters. I don't know what's going on. It's not going through, you know. And he goes, what's addresses? And I was like, you know what? I don't know. I'll call you back. And so I went and I looked at the other side of the street, and they went by increments of 2. So I just changed, just went to increments of 2, the odd side, whatever, the even, whatever it was. And I says, yeah, here's all the addresses. And I did have the address for like the big building. It was like a multi-family kind of big building. Then they had like 4 retail tenant spaces next to it. And so the one was on the street going one way, and the other one was on the street going this way. And I says, yeah, I was like, here's all the addresses. So then he goes over there, gets the addresses, brings me my meters. I set the brass tags and everything. He goes and sets the meters. We got power and everything, and it was all cool. Well, next thing you know, they find out that the city never approved the permits. And I didn't know that. Like, they didn't tell me that they never got a permit on the place. And so here they have permanent power with the correct addresses, because what's funny is the post office sets the addresses. And so they have to go through this whole process. Like, they have to go to the post office gives them the approved addresses because they're new buildings that's going in. And then they say, okay, this is what the addresses are going to be. And then they say, all right, da-da-da-da-da. Well, somehow I got the addresses right, what the post office wanted the addresses to be. And they were just so confused, and they had it coming up and red tagging the job because they didn't have a permit. We already had permanent power, and they're like, how did you guys get permanent power? And it was just funny because they were like telling me I was taking too long on the project, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm taking too long. I already got permanent power on all these buildings, and we're already, like, people are ready to move in. We don't even have a permit. And it was really funny because they were like, oh, well, the reason that you don't have a permit is because we never got submitted drawings for the fire alarm. And I was like, what's the fire alarm? It's just a multi-family building, And then what we ended up finding out, there was only one fire alarm device that was required. It was a smoke detector at the top of the shaft, the top of the stairwell that goes in, or whatever. But it was so funny. It was like only one smoke detector in the whole place, and you got to put in like a fire alarm system and all this stuff. It was so ridiculous. And they like red tagged it for that, but it was just so funny how they come in. They're like, how did this building get power? And I'm like, sorry, but it was pretty cool. It helps to know the utility guys, because like if you don't know them, you're like, oh, hey, I want to get these meters, and they're like 30 days. It's like, well, I just see you're over at the Taco Bell. You got the meter in the back of your truck right there. They're like, nope, 30 days, click, Yep. So it's pretty funny, but we'll go into the myth of the week, I guess.
All right.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
So this week was really funny because one of the apprentices we were like putting in some Carflex, and one of the apprentices was like, you can only use that in residential, can't you? And I'm all, no. But this picture's really hilarious. I got this from like an advertisement of like an electrical contractor. So I don't know what they're doing. That gray cord looks really suspect. Like maybe it's going to like some kind of Christmas lights, or I don't know. It's I guess it's good that it has a 90-degree connector, but that looks like an appliance whip. I don't know what that plugs into, but then the other one with Carflex, which actually Carflex is just a brand, so it's actually non-metallic liquid tight, and it is not listed to just put a cord cap on like that. But I thought it was funny. They made a cord out of Carflex, which is pretty hilarious. But what is so hilarious about this myth is a lot of times some of these apprentices, they hear stuff from, like, I don't know if it's from foremen, from inspectors, whatever, but I think where this myth comes from is I think that they're saying that you can't use a non-metallic Liquidite in like a medical installation. There's some different commercial installations, industrial installations where you can't use this non-metallic Liquidite. But a lot of the comments, I really appreciate everyone sending in the comments because there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, I use this industrial all the time," and so that's really cool. I know one of the big things that people are getting into now is that Tech 90 MC, and it's just a PVC coated MC that they could use for like an industrial application. So that's pretty cool. I really appreciate the comments, and it was really fun going through people's comments and just like hearing everyone say, how is this cover gonna close with that? And I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't think that cover closes. Personally, it doesn't look like it has enough room with that Carflex to close. But that's a weather tight application. Like, I really disagree with that. And it makes it hard to think about how you would do this differently. Possibly use like a bell box extension and then bring that Carflex into the bell box extension rather than plugging it in. Might be a little cleaner, might be a little better. And that could possibly be a damp location as well, like has that brick overhang. So in a damp location, you wouldn't need that in-use cover anyway. So, some of that stuff is kind of why we do these, because when you look at this different stuff through the eyes of people that know the code, you could think of like better ways to do this than just plugging it in like that. I don't think this is a very good install personally.
Yep. Well, let me go back. Question is, Carflex is only permitted for use in residential applications. Right. I find it interesting because I've heard different people when they look at Carflex. Some like to refer to it as liquid-tight, flexible, non-metallic conduit. Then I've heard others say it's liquid-tight, flexible metal conduit. Right. So, however you want to look at it. But when you look where it's permitted to be used, that's what you want to look at. And these are all your listings here for the liquid-tight, flexible, non-metallic conduit. And of course, it tells you got to take into consideration where you install it in lengths longer than 6 foot. That's something we'll get into a little bit here. And then you've got different types where you got type B. That's a listed manufactured pre-wired assembly.
Hey, I got to grab the door. I'll be right back, bro.
Okay. And then it gets into talking about in locations where it's subject to severe corrosive influence. You got to go look over at 300.6. So they're giving you all these different locations that you can use this. And then they talk about where you have your conductors or cables where they're rated at a temperature higher than the listed temperature rating of the liquid flexible non-metallic conduit. So they're giving you all your installations here, and then the use is not permitted. Of course, you don't want to install it where it's subject to physical damage, or any combination of ambient or conductor temperatures in excess for that which is listed. Then it talks about the 6 foot length and all that, except for is permitted. We'll get in that in a little bit. And it says in any hazardous classified location, except as permitted in other articles of the NEC. Then you go in and look at your liquid-tight flexible metal conduit. Some of them like to call it that. It just tells you all the uses permitted and not permitted. So you're sort of getting sort of the same. There's just not as many installations listed. And then you come over here and then you look at your types of equipment grounding conductors. And here's a good one for liquid-tight flexible metal conduit. And it talks about where the conduit itself is permitted to be the equipment ground, but you have to meet these rules here. And then, like Bill was saying, you get over and look at 517.13, and this is where you get into healthcare facilities. And when you're looking at this is not the same as we're talking about for those. Where this is really getting into is where you're starting to look at like
Yeah, and one thing I was gonna mention too is that you are correct about that 517.13 where you have to comply with Part A and Part B, which is your bonding and your grounding, and they actually call it redundant ground, which is kind of incorrect as far as it's not. It's easy to reference as a redundant ground, but it's not redundant. Like, you still need to have both bonds. You have to have a bond and you have to have a ground. And the reason they do that is to lower that impedance to open the overcurrent device faster for people who are in vulnerable positions.
Sure. And that's where it goes through, and it tells you about all this. So, I went ahead and threw a few sections in here just for you to look at. These are things when you're considering looking at using Carflex and things to think about. But overall, the main question is true.
Yeah.
So just sort of wrap it up. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and like, this myth is kind of busted in a way because when you get into like that non-metallic, any kind of non-metallic wiring method, the only real requirement from the code is that you comply with 250 122, 250 104 C, 250 102 C1, all those. So as long as you're pulling a full-size ground, like, it doesn't matter what wiring method you use.
That's
so,
right.
a lot of
And it
people
goes
don't
back to
realize
what
that.
I've taught on this. I guess 2 years ago, I was doing some grounding stuff, and I was explaining a lot of different things. But I said the one point you're always trying to remember is you want to get the path back to one location.
True.
That's
Yeah.
what you're always trying to accomplish.
So I am going to go ahead and give James his topic of the week finally.
Finally.
Because, dude, this marks 10 days with no stupid comments from the ECD boys live. So I don't know. We'll have to see, but like I say, I'm sure it'll be like tomorrow they'll say something stupid again. I'll have to get the clip of the week rolling again. But it's really funny.
I'll say one thing I've thought about this before. I think the reason they do not like this podcast or like you and I on here is because somebody has a means that they put together to go in and counteract false interpretations they've made. That's why they attack us constantly.
Yeah.
And I think another reason they attack us also is because they also try to attack the stalk-up publications.
Well, and not only that, but like, what's really funny is they come in there, show this podcast, bring it in and have it transcribed and stuff for the Standards Council. And I bet the Standards Council was like, man, is that stalk-up? And I bet you they were like, well, wait a minute, we got some big names in here, so to me, that's awesome. I'm actually honored to do it with you. It's so much fun, and we just try to bust these myths. And like, my apprentice asked me that question, like, hey, are we allowed to use this on commercial? I was like, yeah. I was like, why wouldn't you?
That's right.
And so it's pretty funny that we go in and we show you all the different code sections. Like, really, the only place you can't use it is when you're having like this, what they call the redundant ground situation. But, in all actuality, the metallic seal tie, I believe you could only use it for a certain ampacity and only up to 6 foot as the equipment ground. And what's really funny is that, yeah, you are permitted to use that metallic seal tie as the equipment ground, but that's the whole reason why that Von Pergo got killed in Southside Chicago. The whole reason why they said they needed to put 210.8F in the first place. And
Sure.
it's really funny because it was all about improper wiring and not appropriate grounding, misusing the code. and then all of a sudden they're like gonna base all this change on a code violation. So
You know, and I want to prove something. Like Jeremy said, "Oh, show me where people agree with you." I'm just going to show something here. I'm going to share a screen so everybody can see this. This just happened today. So when you look at this right here, let me increase the size because it's right there on the side right there. So let me get it over towards the center here.
is Bolton back? That guy just does
Yeah, this is on YouTube. So one of the guys he put here, thank you for this video. I can't tell you the amount of time I've been called a hack for not wanting to install a bonding bushing on a 120 volt to ground kit here ran in flexible metal conduit with or without eccentric knockouts. That was one of the myths we covered. Yeah. And somebody is going through looking at what we've done and everything, and then we get comments like that all the time. Y'all don't even see them. I mean, we get them all the time on there.
Yeah, proving Jeremy wrong again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just showed.
And what I want to point out, this is another reason they don't like us, is because we're going in and we're showing all these myths and these things like Jeremy, the ECD boys over there, the IAI publication, all of them, showing them Paul Abernathy, Brian Jackson, Mike, all of them, showing them where they've made false statements and showing you in the NEC, NFPA, different standards, OSHA standards, going through and laying it out. I mean, sometimes we may have to show you 10 different steps to go through, but people are seeing this and they're not agreeing with them. They're agreeing with what we're saying.
Right.
And that's what they don't like, because they've had, until we started doing this, they pretty much sort of ruled the social media because they had set up and were out there telling everybody what to do. And then you get us that come on, and then we start saying, no, that isn't right, that isn't right, that isn't right. And then all of a sudden they're mad. And then anybody that comes on this podcast and agrees with us, the first thing they do, like Jeremy that one week, he goes, he's a freaking moron. Then a little bit later, he goes, y'all are the only two I call morons. And we say, you just called an inspector that.
Yeah, and then he starts using like names like calling people racist and bigots and all that, and that's just what they're trying to do, because it just happened to be a black kid that died on this AC unit, and so you don't want to pass this, you don't want this to go through, that means you're a racist. And they constantly do that, race baiting, to try to make their claims, and it's just ridiculous, so
I agree.
We'll
right.
Get going with your
topic of the week. Finally.
Yeah, what chapter are we in now? Are we in chapter 4?
Yeah, we're this will finish up chapter 4.
Gotcha.
So we're getting pretty close. We've had so much that has gone on here.
Well, yeah, you guys totally had to revamp chapter 8 in your design book, and that's ridiculous. Like, there was no reason, there was no justification for that change, and then now it's just basically chapter 8. It's like nothing. It's like one reference or something. So
I'm gonna tell everybody, and y'all do what you want to do, but I'd share this podcast, let everybody know there are so many changes this time, and a lot of section moves. I mean, they've moved articles. They've done, and I'll tell you this: anybody that deals with high voltage, I would highly suggest that you get, when we come out with it, we're gonna have 3 different publications for designing electrical systems: 1,000 volts or less, over 1,000 volts, and then energy limited energy systems. Okay, That one that's over 1,000 votes, if you're dealing with that stuff a lot, you probably want to get that publication. Matter of fact, I would probably say we're the only ones that'll even have a publication on that, the way it's redone and all the new articles and stuff. So there's going to be a lot of new stuff you're going to have to figure out. And like where you're used to dealing with Article 220, you're going to need to start learning because they moved a bunch of stuff around. And that doesn't include them just taking Article 220, making it Article 120 now. So y'all are going to have to sort of get up to speed with all the stuff that has changed. Okay. And we're in the process right now getting the design books edited and all that. And I hope by summer we've got all three of those books, and then also the updated Journeyman Masters and Generator Transformer uh, publications. And then we'll update the grounding, the hazard, and we're going to do a lot on the hazardous location too. So we got that one and the lightning protection, and then we'll have everything hopefully by the end of summer next year. And that includes also bringing state licenses and stuff for updates. So all that's coming here this next year. So anyway, this one here, they've added a new section. Now what this is going to get into, this is going to address the different listing requirements here. And this is where you have equipment that's not rated over 15 kV and equipment that's rated over 15 kV.
Do you want to know what's funny about that one?
Well, the thing I think's funny about it is this listing requirement is not effective to 2029, January 1st, 2029, for equipment not rated over 15,000 volts. But once it's over, then it's going to be January 1st, 2032.
There's really no listing agency that does that.
I know.
And what's funny about that is, like, when we're out in gas and oil, we're doing all this. We're doing 15 kV all day, every day, twice on Sunday, and especially if we're on a 13-1 shift. But the thing is, we're doing this stuff, and we're out in the field, and we're under engineer supervision. So we're building a lot of this equipment under engineer supervision without no listing.
Well, that's where they take and they do well, in this case, with what they're doing here, let me explain why this is.
Okay.
So a lot of people understand. So you're getting into this switch gear and these different industrial control assemblies that have these voltage levels. And a lot of this, where they're doing all of this, is where they have their own customer-owned utility places.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so they're saying, okay, well, the way we look at this is all of this is falling under the National Electrical Code, where they're maintaining all this and they're using the installation requirements.
Yeah.
That's why they're going to start coming in, having the listing and labeling. And I'll tell you, Jeremy, here's another good learning exercise so you can teach your apprentices the correct interpretation. And I'll guarantee you, go ahead. I encourage you, if they even covered it, go ahead and post IAIs up and let's do a comparison and see if they explain it right. The reason that this has to take place, because this is getting into the listing and labeling, and they're going to do this through UL. And then, of course, in order to have that approval rating that covers this, who does that? Okay. Now, when you look and you start getting at these higher voltages like that, where do you get this at? You don't go look at subpart S and subpart A and construction and all that when you're dealing with those things. You got to go look at subpart R and subpart B.
Right.
Okay. And that's where you get into this, and this is where they're going to take from that. And I expect probably in the next update and R&V that this will be correlated back with the listing requirements that took place here in 495.2 A and B.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting about this is a lot of times when this is kind of a rare situation, but like what can you cite would be like the dangers of having like an unlisted piece of equipment? Like, to me, honestly, a lot of the stuff that we get in medium voltage is it's not required to be listed.
That's right.
But like, what would you see as like the danger of this not being enforced? Like, I most of the time, the reason I ask this, most of the time, the AHJ that would come out to these facilities has no clue what they're looking at. And so for them to be looking at a listing mark or something, I don't know what they would be trying to enforce on this. I guess that's why I think this is kind of funny, because we're telling the AHJ, like, this is what we did, this is why it's good, this is, I mean, it has nothing to do with the listing at all, regardless of the NEC. So to me, I guess that's where I just find this a little mind-boggling as to why they need to put this in, especially why they need to have like all these. I don't understand all these sunset windows that they have to put in, because what ends up happening is they get to that date and then they're like, oh wow, there's no reason to do this. So I don't know, that's where
that's why they're doing it. I can tell you, because of the customer owned aspect.
Gotcha. All right.
So then they just put another one in here. This all of these that I'm going to show you that's going to finish this up is an Article 495, and this is where they added a new section. This was to help clarify where you have grounding switches installed, and basically all they're really telling you here is that these grounding switches have to be interlocked with the disconnecting means for all sources of power. And then you got to have a sign that's installed that complies with 110.21b. That's all it is. Okay. So basically, in other words, that it's a safety aspect.
Yeah, it just can't be handwritten.
That's right.
It has to comply with even 70E too.
And then they did the same thing with this one. And basically, if you go look at 235.11 or the existing 235.11, this was already required. And this is dealing with your switchgear enclosure and installation. And all they're telling you is where you installed over combustible 4, that you got to provide non-combustible protection for this in any of the provided under any of the openings in the bottom of the switchgear. That's it. Okay. That was already required. It got moved over here from 235.
Yeah, and then, that's a good one, I guess.
Yeah, they're just putting in, it was already there. And then they just added a whole new part right here. And this is a part that was added that is going to cover your equipment vaults.
Right.
Okay. And if you go look at transformer vaults and stuff, it's pretty much going to be the same thing. You're not going to see much difference in this. So they'll get in, talk about the location, and basically telling you where they can be ventilated to the outside air without using flutes or ducts. And that's only where they're arranged in a manner that it's practicable that you don't require them. And then you start getting into your walls, roof, and floors. And right here is where you start seeing you got to have a minimum fire resistance of what? 3 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. And the only way you can get away from that is you're protecting the equipment there with some type of automatic sprinkler, water spray, carbon dioxide, or halogen system. And that construction is designed in such a manner where you have a 1 hour rating. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you look at your floors, what's the thickness? 4 inches, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's why. And then when you look at a typical 3 hour construction, how thick is that? 6 inches.
Yep.
Okay. So you're looking at sort of the same rules here. And then you come over and then you start looking at the doors and stuff. The interior doors here, they got to be what? 3 hour rating, unless it's 1 hour based on the exception like we just looked at. Doors are the same thing. Man,
so those are some expensive doors, man.
Oh yeah.
Like I'll give everyone a cheat code on how you can achieve a 3 hour rating. Just pour it in 6 inch concrete and you're good.
Oh sure. and And look at that. You look at the seals. What is it? It's just like the floor. It's got to be what? 4 inches. And of course, your egress, they got to open at 90 degrees. You got to have the doors have to be equipped with locks. They got a be kept lock, and it's only allows access for who? Qualified persons. So you're getting the same thing. And then they come in, they look at the ventilation openings, and they just tell you the same thing for the location. They tell you they'll be located as far from what? Your doors, windows, fire escapes, combustible material, and the arrangement. It comes in, talks about the arrangement of that, and it says that the vault shall be permitted to have roughly what? Half of the total area of openings required for ventilation and one or more openings near the floor, and the remainder of one or more openings in the roof or in the side walls near the roof. So it's the same thing. You're going in, they're just looking at your containment wall and all of that, what the containment area is, and making sure that it's installed above the height of whatever that containment wall is.
Right.
Okay. And then you come in, you look at the size. It's based on the recommendations from who? The equipment manufacturer.
Yeah.
I mean, what? You mean the code doesn't? I thought the code overrides whatever the equipment manufacturer
apparently
says.
not.
Yeah. And then if you look at your dampers there, what does it say? You got ventilation openings to the indoor shall be provided with automatic closing fire dampers that operate in response to a vault fire and possesses a standard fire rating of not less than 1.5 hours.
Yeah. And what's funny is you'll see all these informational note for those standards if you go back one. Like they'll show all these informational notes for all these standards and stuff. Like, they'll say ANSI. You got this 555. You got standard. All this other standards that go. It's not just the National Electric Code.
And how do they determine that? That's the manufacturer and the engineering based on their specs. Has nothing to do with the freaking code.
Yeah. And there's a lot of code questions when you're out in the field is refer to manufacturer instructions.
Sure you do.
And if you refer to manufacturer instructions, you're almost never going to be wrong. I can't barely ever think of one case where you'd be wrong.
Sure. And then they get in the drainage and they tell you, you got to have that drainage in the vault so it'll carry off any accumulation of oil or water in the vault unless local conditions make this impracticable. Then they tell you, you got to pitch the floor to the drain where provided. Then they get into your water pipes and accessories. And what do they say? They are not permitted to enter or pass through that equipment vault. And then it talks about your associated systems here. And they tell you here, piping or other facilities provided for vault fire protection or for equipment cooling shall not be considered foreign to the electrical insulation. And of course, you can't store in that vault.
True.
Okay. These are things that you're already doing in vaults anyway. They're just having you do the same thing for anything that is in that higher voltage area. Okay.
Okay.
And then we get into 500. I did a few in 500 just to get us going because we've been behind.
Right.
So what they did here, this is 505.5 D1B. And what they did, they made a revision here. And this was to help clarify that these metal combustible fibers or flyings must be present in quantities that are hazardous. If they're not in quantities hazardous, let me give you a reason this, because this is one where you're going to get in and you're going to go look at NFPA 499, and they'll talk. There's things that you get into where you're dealing with different dust, fibers, flyings, and things like that. And we go in and we talk about where you have cleanup crews that come in and keep that equipment clean so you don't have the buildup. Therefore, you don't have quantities that are building up to where they become hazardous. True. That's not in the National Electrical Code.
True.
Okay. So see, this is and I know I say this a lot, but this is why when we go into our publications and we're doing these code changes, and we have an illustration and we have a call out and we're referring you to other documents to look at. It could be OSHA, it could be any type of NFPA standard, it could be a UL standard, it could be ASHRAE, it could be an ANSI type standard. The reason we're referring you to all these in certain sections is because there's additional information there that you need to be aware of.
True.
Okay? And I'll tell you, you won't see that in other publications. And that is another reason when I tell them, won't you go ahead and post something up and let's do a comparison? They won't do it because they do not provide that type of information.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have in these other publications, I've almost never seen an author's comment. You know, that's one thing. Like, you see all that written in white. They spend a lot of time throwing in that author's comment, and that's on their interpretation of what took place. And that just adds to, like, your knowledge when you go out in the field. And I really like it, and I love the 2023 code change book.
Well, I'll give you an example. We were the first to do an author's comment, and then the next cycle or the next, I think, might come in with author's note or something. I don't remember what he put, but he put something, and once again, you know, they copy the ideas that we come up with, and all you have to do is go back and look. It's there for anybody to see when we started it than when he did, and you'll see he didn't do that in a previous code book. Then all of a sudden he started doing it.
Dude, you guys started in 1978, and he started in 1973, dude.
Yeah, shit.
I think that's so hilarious. Like, when he said, oh, man, 50-year anniversary, 2025, you know, he did it like January, you know. And I'm like, really? You're claiming that you've been doing it longer than Stall Cups? And, like, I remember trying to kind of, like, research some of, like, your dad's stuff from back in the day. And, well, I'll have to throw it on here. We'll have to do a throwback. I actually have a song from your dad that your dad wrote. And we'll throw it on here. We'll play it for everybody. But, you know, the thing was, like, I found this song. I can't remember what the name of his band was. It was like the Heartbreakers or something like that.
Something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah. But it was so funny. I all of a sudden I'm on YouTube and it's all music from the Stall Cup, and I'm like, what? And so I start looking. It's from the '60s.
Yeah, it's in the '60s. He was doing it.
And so then they come to find out your dad was like 18 when he was doing that one recording where it's like, I'm so alone.
Oh, yeah.
And he got so mad that we did that song because he said that wasn't a good one. But
you know who he sounded like?
What's that?
He listened to his voice. He sounded like Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
That's who he sounded like when he was singing.
Yeah. So it's really funny because he did that one song, Romaine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started getting in the comments and saying, yeah, you know, I do a podcast with his son and stuff. And they're like, oh, yeah. Well, the reason he did that was because he's a produce manager back then.
He was a produce manager at Buddy's. And then he met my mom, and they got married. And then my grandfather, he was like one of the biggest contractors in Fort Worth here. And he went to work there, and then he got Dad in the union apprenticeship. And then that's how he got started in electrical.
Nice.
Isn't
and then
something?
he didn't like the code publications that they didn't have.
Well, no, what happened was he was teaching over at the Union School, which at that time was Local 116. I think when he started, I was a sophomore in high school, and the students did not like what the material they had, and so Dad started developing some of his own, and that he could teach with, and this is actually how it got started, and they all liked it, and my father or my grandfather, he liked what he was doing, and then my brother Billy, he was probably at that time when he started doing it, he's probably like 14. He was drawing, and he helped draw the illustrations. They did it on white paper, and then they put it on a transparency, and he taught off the transparencies, and he did a class here at Ridgely Country Club for all the inspectors, contractors, and everything. My grandfather put it on, helped him do it, and a couple other contractors. And the first one he did, he had over 350 people, and there were contractors that were coming from and inspectors from other cities, and they liked it so much. The next thing you know, he is on the weekend, he'd go like Austin, then he'd go to San Antonio, and then he was in Dallas, then he was down in Lubbock, and
Nice.
that's how it got started. And he had put a little book together. It had a blue cover on it. I'll have to find it. We still got it here, and it was probably about 100 pages of what he had put together, and probably had about 100 illustrations. And then American Tech Publishing had seen it, and then they contacted him and wanted him to expand on it, and that's when he wrote the first electrical design book. And then after that, he did a journeyman master's, and then he went into generators, transformer motors, all of this. But that's how everything got started.
One thing you might want to remind your dad was he was supposed to print me out a copy of like the original code book.
1897. Yeah. I'll talk to him.
But that'd be cool. He'll send me a copy of that one, the first one he put together too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I'd like to see that. So
all right, let's get moving. We're behind, brother. All right, so 500.30A, all they did was add a new section here. Basically, what this did, they removed some references that were in part 1 and 5 of Article 250, because it could have been construed that, looking at that this wouldn't apply to hazardous classified locations. So they took certain information from there, and of course, based on 90.3 in the code, chapters 5 through 7 can only supplement or modify, of course, chapters 1 through 4. So they decided
wasn't that one of the changes for 2026 where it says chapters 5 through 8 now?
Yeah. Okay. And that's why I say 5 through 7 now.
Oh, gotcha.
And so they took these specific bonding requirements. They didn't change. They just moved those references from parts 1 and 5, and then they put it over here in parent text in Article 500 in order to make sure that bonding is required here in hazardous classified locations where you're dealing with this specific bonding means.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then they said, okay, well, there's certain where it's not permitted, and here's where it comes in and tells you it's not permitted, where you have lock nuts, bushings, and double lock nut types of connections, and bonding lock nuts used around and pair connections, such as reducing washers or oversized concentric or eccentric knockouts, which is funny because I just brought that up where one of the guys commented on that for one of the myths that we did.
Right.
And then you still get the bonding in hazardous classified locations, and this is where you're dealing with the specific bonding where you're installing here flexible metal conduit or liquid type flexible metal conduit. And of course, it goes in and tells you where you're looking at your equipment bonding jumper, the wire type size. It's done in accordance with what? 250.122. So,
right.
And then you'll see where you get in, it says it's not required. This is where you get into class 1, 2, and 3, division 2 locations, and it talks about where you have 6 foot or less of liquid type flexible metal conduit, and this is where you have fittings that are listed for what? Grounding. Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole point of like the myth. And one thing I forgot to mention with our myth of the week this week was, I don't know if you remember that one we did where it said that flexible wiring method couldn't be longer than 6 foot.
Oh, I remember.
And so it was funny because one of the guys said that, like, oh, we got to be at least less than 6 foot, right? I was like, what? And
nope.
He's like, oh yeah. And so that's where this comes from. And what they do a lot of times, and that's why it's so cool when you do these code changes, because they all align with all these different sections. So you're taking the code as a whole when you do these code change sections.
That's exactly right. And I've stated that how many times now?
A lot. So, like Jeremy doesn't listen.
That gets us through that portion, and next week we'll get into the rest of 500 series or 501. I think is where we start.
All right.
So
we're heading into the Willie Quiz.
all right, let me cue it up.
Dude, that video cracks me up every time. All right, I'll make sure I got like the sounds right. You know, to make sure. All right, you know, like I think I got it.
All right.
I didn't have the drum roll last week. I had it like messed up. All right, so I got the drum roll. Let's go and get it right. So, question number 1: which franchise holds the third most all-time postseason game wins? Is it A, the Los Angeles Dodgers, B, the St. Louis Cardinals, C, the New York Yankees, D, the Boston Red Sox, or E, the Texas Rangers? Good luck, everyone.
Well, this is interesting. I was just thinking, I'm going to rule out Texas Rangers for sure.
Yeah?
And if I was going to guess the two that were top two, probably, I would think you'd be looking at the New York Yankees and Boston Red Sox. So that leaves me with two.
Right?
The Dodgers have not really been that good till recently.
Ooh, Daniel's going A.
See, I was thinking B.
We already start out with a boat race.
Damn. Because the St. Louis Cardinals were really good back in the day, that they were in a lot of They didn't win, but they were in a lot of postseason games. And I don't think the Dodgers started doing good till later. Because it was the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Right.
And that's not counting. This is Los Angeles.
I think they are counting that. But based on like what I'm looking at, I think they are counting the Brooklyn Dodgers as it.
Because I remember the Cardinals back in the day, they were always, I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I don't know why. For some reason, I'll go with Cardinals.
All right, he's going to try to jump Daniels. A. King James gets question number 1. Daniel got the number 2 all-time postseason team with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They will actually move up if they win. So
they were actually ahead of Boston?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, I would have missed that because I had rolled them. I thought Yankees was number 1 for me. Then I thought it was Boston, and I didn't count Brooklyn. So that's why, okay.
Yeah, it was Yankees number 1, Dodgers number 2, and then Cardinals number 3. So you got the first question right. All right, question number 2. Which team has the highest career postseason win percentage amongst teams with a substantial number of postseason games? Is it A, the Miami Marlins, B, the New York Yankees, C, the Los Angeles Angels, D, the Oakland Athletics, or E, the Texas Rangers? Good luck, everyone.
Okay, what is a substantial amount of games are we talking about here? Because this I've got two choices here I'm thinking about that have done good in the postseason when they got there, but what is a substantial number?
I would actually say it's like over 20 or over 30. I don't know exactly, but
Okay.
it's like some of these teams are like old, and like I don't know when the Miami Marlins. I don't know, Oakland A's. I don't know how many like Texas Rangers, like Texas Rangers. Like when did they start? I don't even know.
They started quite a while because I was watching them in the 80s over
Okay.
at the old stadium.
Okay.
But they didn't make the postseason at all, hardly. And
Right.
if they did, they got eliminated. It was just, you know, probably the last 10 years that they won a championship, and then they haven't done good since. So
Ooh, Daniel's taking the
they,
Miami Marlins. So
that was my
I don't.
two choices was between Miami and Texas. And the reason, because back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the Marlins at that time, I remember being down in Florida and they were celebrating when they won. And uh, they were, um, I was trying to think that another one that
I
if you'd have
thought.
had up there, I'd have been a little more thinking about would have been Arizona too.
Right.
Uh, but you didn't put them in. And I think if you look at Oakland, Los Angeles, and New York, they've played a whole bunch, but I don't think their percentage is as high as A and E. So I think Miami hadn't been there a whole bunch, but when they got there, they were winning.
Okay. Yeah,
So
because like I thought the Oakland A's had a little bit of a run in like the early '90s,
they
maybe
did,
mid.
but they wasn't winning. They were getting knocked out, and they shouldn't have been. And
Okay.
I'll tell you another one that actually got the postseason a lot, but they didn't win when they had Ken Griffey and they were in Seattle. That was back right around the time Miami and all that was going. So I'm gonna go with Miami. I think that's probably the better answer of all of those for win percentage.
Looks like Daniel gets question number 1 and King James gets question number 2 correct. So we have.
I got question number one right.
Well, no, I'm saying you got
Oh,
question number 2. So basically, you have 2 correct answers.
oh,
Daniel has 1. So,
okay.
all right. Question number 3: Who holds the record for the most postseason wins by a pitcher? Is it A, Nathan Eovaldi? Is it B, Justin Verlander? Is it C, Mariano Rivera? Is it D, Madison Baumgartner? Or is it E, Andy Pettitte? Good luck, everyone.
I was thinking about this, and I now when I think about this, he Andy Petite, he played for New York, didn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah. And I think that's when New York was really doing good. And that Andy Petite, I'm gonna go Andy Petite. Uh, I don't think Marion Rivera. He was a reliever, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he
Okay.
came in and he went on fire, and then
Yeah.
I think Nathan Eovaldi was the one that like he was like a backup all year, and
Yeah.
then he just came in for the playoffs and just went on fire.
Yeah. But I think the one that pitched more than any of them that's in there, in New York, that was Andy Petite, and I think Yeah. Okay, that's right. That's what I'm thinking too. I think it's Andy Petit.
Daniel is going E.
Yeah.
Let's see if the copy works. You both are correct.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Daniel's only down by 1. Oh, look. Oh, man. We got David Engelhardt jumping in, man. Dude, thanks, David. Yeah,
Oh, cool. Jeff Ector. Yeah, I know Jeff.
yeah, dude. Feel free to go back and see what we're talking about this week. And we got still a little bit more to go, David. Question number 4. As of 2025, which Major League franchise has made the most consecutive postseason appearances? Is it A, St. Louis Cardinals? Is it B, Los Angeles Dodgers? Is it C, New York Yankees? Is it D, Oakland Athletics? Or is it E, the Atlanta Braves? Good luck, everyone.
I think I know this, and I think it's the Dodgers. I'm not even going to stress on this at all because as of 2025, the Dodgers have been there almost every freaking year, it seems like. And they went and got that guy out of Japan. What was his name?
Suki or something.
Sugi. I can't remember. No, it wasn't Sugi. It was something else.
Yeah.
Because they were winning.
Ooh,
He
Daniel's
went
going.
with E. Oh man, I did not have E on there. I had B. I had A or B, but I think the Dodgers have been. I'm gonna go with B. I'm
All
sticking
right.
with it.
King James is going B. Final answer.
Yep.
Daniel ties it up. It's the Atlanta Braves are the number 1.
Really?
Made the postseason the most times. Made the most appearances. I think this is like the first year in a while that they had. I don't know exactly. I'd have to see, but I think they said something that this is like the first year that they have made an appearance in like a long time. So, I don't know. Like I tried to do it on 2025 so that we'd be like kind of current.
Yeah.
But which of the following is true about Major League Baseball postseason history? A, only one team has ever gone undefeated through a full modern era postseason, i.e. won their playoff game. B, no team has ever thrown 4 consecutive complete games in league championship series. C, the only team to sweep every round in the 2025 postseason is the Seattle Mariners. D, in the 1976 Cincinnati Reds are the only team in the divisional area to go 7-0 the postseason. E, 2025 had the most new teams making playoffs in history. Good luck, everyone.
Well, this is an interesting one. I've had a few thoughts here. What I think I would go with here.
I busted on the Google Bandits.
I was
to be able to
thinking
Google this one.
that the Cincinnati Reds, I think that they went 7-0 in one of the postseasons. I'm trying to remember back. Let's say it's 6 years. So that was right at the area. Wasn't I think
Dude, that
the
was
76 team, didn't that have Pete Rose on there? I think that's what all
Yeah.
the hoop was about. Yeah, I think
Dude,
so. I'll go with D. I think that's right. I think it was Pete Rose. There was a big thing about them being the first to go, undefeated in the postseason.
So that was like 1 year after Mike Holt started his code training program.
Well, I remember I used to collect the baseball cards. At that time I was like 13 years old.
Right.
And I sort of remember, because I had a Pete Rose one, and I sort of remember something. There was they had like a card that come out. Oh, he went D2. Damn.
Oh man, we might have a tie tonight. We might have to bust out the tiebreaker.
Okay, well, I guess we're both going D. Let's see what happens.
The answer is D. So the tiebreaker question is, what is the closest person gets it right? What is the amount of home runs hit this postseason to date?
Are you talking this year?
Yeah, so the whole entire postseason, from the start of postseason till current right now. I know it's not over yet, but the postseason, what is the home runs to date? Closest one wins.
That's everybody included, right?
Yep.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. So I guess you'd have to add up an
It's not 8,000, Daniel. So just let you know.
I was trying to think. You take the teams, how many games? I'm just
I should do prices right, like closest without going over.
Well, I'm adding up in my head how many, because I would think you would probably look at 200 per team. I guess you could say would sound pretty good. 200
per team?
Yeah, I just say 200 for each team. So if you take 200, or just say 250, somewhere in there. I'm just, because if you take a guy, if he jacks 60 a year, the rest of the team,
No, this is only postseason.
Oh, okay. Well, now
I was like, what? 200 per team? I was like, what? I was like, dude, this is just from the start of postseason till current. How many home runs have been jacked?
I thought for the whole year.
Nah, dude. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, I think you're gonna go over a little.
Okay, so now I gotta re-add in my head. So you're probably looking at. You look at the home runs, you think about that. So you say a whole postseason. You got to think about the teams that are in there. So I'll say 10. I'd say you're probably looking about 170.
170.
Yeah, I'll just round it off to 170.
All right. So King James goes 170. Daniel says 65. And Daniel gets the win. It was 123 to date. So you went way over. It might be 170 by the end. But Daniel swoops in, takes the win.
Well, hold on. Add that up again. I said 123 is what you said.
Yeah.
33, 43, 53, 60. That's 47. And what he say it was?
He said 65, but I said the closest.
105. He lost.
The closest without
going over. I was the closest. 123
but without
to
going over. You went over. The closest without going over. He went low. You went high. You're way too high. Dude.
That's a bunch of crap.
Dude, it's the freaking rules, man. Like, dude, Daniel, like, is this rigged, man? Come on, man. Dude. And like, dude, Daniel's right. Like, all he does is win here. He just swoops the jaws of victory. Like, you knew the rules. Like, you can't just act like you didn't know the rules. I said the closest without going over. Then you're like, oh, I was closer because I went over.
So by the end of it, it's probably going to be about 170.
Dude, Daniel lost by going 8,000 to your freaking correct 8 years, or I think you said 10 years. You know what I mean? Like,
There was, what was it, 14 or something like that? I just took
no,
it.
it was 8 years, but I think you said 7 or something. Like, you were really close and you didn't go over. And then Daniel said 8,000. So I don't know how we're gonna just like change the rules just for you because you think it's unfair. But I mean, it's cool. You made the podcast, so I can't deny the king. But
If I'd known that, I'd just went 100. But I honestly, in my mind, I was counting. I was at 130. I was thinking, yeah, probably about 130. And I was thinking by the end of it, about 170, somewhere there.
But if you would have said 130, you would have been closer, but you still went over.
Yeah, because that probably would have been my real.
They said, so the reason I did that one is they said that 123 is a Major League Baseball record for amount of home runs hit in the postseason so far.
I didn't know that, but I figured you're probably looking around close to, by the end of it, I was thinking 150 to 200.
Yeah.
That sounded plausible to me.
You're probably right.
Just adding up in my mind.
I don't know. Like, all Daniel does is win when he comes in here. So, like I say, I appreciate Daniel coming in. It's so much fun because he keeps King James honest. And the thing is, King James has won like once this year, maybe twice. No.
I don't know.
It's so much fun to have like people in the chat that compete and everything, and we're gonna try to go to that Cowboys game, man. I'm looking at tickets right now, man. We're gonna try to go. Daniel bought tickets to Metallica, Pantera, and Suicidal Tendencies, so I'm gonna buy tickets to Broncos, Cowboys. So we'll see, man. It's funny because the guy I'm working with right now, he's going to Broncos Giants, and he had to pay like $500 for his tickets, and like he's like up there, like right by the players and everything like that. So pretty cool. Awesome that one of the guys I know is gonna be up there, and like I say, we got Scataboo going. So it's pretty cool.
Y'all gonna be crying. Be over there. I'm gonna be texting. I'm gonna be going, yeah, check out the score. Yeah, y'all barely beat the freaking Jets and we killed them. Y'all ain't got a chance.
Yeah, true. No, David has a comment coming in here, and he's like, I can't remember when I asked about the death match. Why enrollment the night before? Oh, yeah. Like, did something happen with the death match on the enrollment or something?
The August is about to be uploaded. Finishing the last one up on it. Well, wait, let me look. I can tell you what's on there. Let me go over here.
Yeah. Like, we're a little behind there, David.
Well,
like King James is, but I'm not gonna.
I can tell you here real quick. Give me a second. I know which ones I've uploaded. The other one's almost done. I had to pull off on it, and I've got most of it. I've just got to do the calculations. I can tell you which ones are on there. Just give me a second.
10 days left, King James. We got you, bro. We got you.
Let me look here, and I'll tell you ones that are all the way up. Yeah, August is up. Yeah.
Okay.
August, and so September is about to be put on, and then October. Those will be done by this weekend. Matter of fact, I can show that. Give me 1 second so everybody knows where to go here.
Yeah, and you guys have me to compete with because I'm getting in there and I'm going to crush it.
So here's the screen share. Let me go over here.
You guys are going to be crushed. David's the guy to beat. Like, David's getting the 1,000. He's getting it.
So you can see here. Here's the. Let me put it on full here. So just come here, and then you can come down here to. There's a whole bunch of them, but if you'll just go to free here, or just you can come over here to categories and go to categories, go to the 2025 NEC Death Match, and there they all are.
Dude, I love the fact of putting NEC
Oh.
Deathmatch in my cart in your site. Like, that is so awesome. It's like, put in cart. I'm like, yes, put in cart. Like,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
so
looking
awesome.
at them right now, and everything to August is up, and we're about to have September put on in October, and then I'll be having November up right on time, and I'm about to post it up on everything so everybody knows. So, yeah, it's all being put up.
Maybe he's saying that he answered the August questions and they
Oh,
didn't
okay.
register.
Oh, cool. All right, yeah. September will be on this weekend, and October will be on, and then October is going to be a little harder, and then November, December is going to be really hard.
Oh, the July
Oh,
questions.
you cannot get the July. Let me look over here and make sure they pop up here. It should. Let me look.
Dude, I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna smash it
July
out.
questions.
I'm gonna smash it out.
Yeah, it popped right up. Yeah, it popped right up.
Is he authorized? Like, did something happen? Maybe.
Yeah. Let me give me 1 second. Let me look and let me go over here.
Maybe he could have got locked out of the July questions. Cause
that shouldn't have locked him out.
Well, it locked me out because you don't want me to win. But I mean, whatever. Like, that's the way you are. You just want to like cheat to win.
Okay, there's David.
You can't stop Daniel. You can't stop
Let's see what it says on his courses. Let's see here. Death match. It shows you're on here. Subscribe to the podcast. Let me go over and.
He says he enrolled the night before accessing the questions the day after, so maybe he got in there too early and it locked him out. Maybe, I don't know.
It shows it on there. I want to check something just to be sure.
You might have to release a lock on him or something. Maybe he went in too early, it locked him or something.
Yeah, it shows. I'll do this. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, he says he keeps clicking, but it doesn't change.
So there's July.
Just letting you know, David, you are the guinea pig of fixing all the bugs. I was the guinea pig last time. This time it's David Engelhart. But no, we appreciate David Engelhart joining. He's the CMECP in the chat, and it's pretty awesome because certified master electrician professionals don't grow on trees.
Yeah, David, give me a chance to look at it this evening and see, because I'm showing it pull up on mine. I don't know why it's not pulling up on yours. I'll check it and see what's the matter.
All right.
It's going to take me a little bit to see, because that's the first time I've heard anything like that happening, because it's showing up on the others. So I don't know why that is.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. He might have got accidentally locked out, but I look forward to challenging you, David, for the title of the death match this time. But we'll see. I got to catch up. I think last one I did was like March or something. Well, I went to go into March, and David's probably, like we're all sitting there just jumping at the chance, like the minute it turns March, and I'm like going in there, and March isn't up, And so I was like, oh man. And then we talked on the podcast, and you're like, oh, I didn't put it up yet. I'm putting it up like middle of the month or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so that could have been what happened, And he's saying he enrolled in August the next day and got the question.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't pop up, because all of them are pulling up, showing they're working. So I'll just have to figure out and see if there's a glitch or something. I'll see, because I just checked it on another person's and it popped up. So I'll check.
David is probably leading for now, but I'm going to catch up from March. But let's go do the tool, I guess.
All right.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by Electricians Only Tool Review and Nipex Tradesman.
Alright, so pretty awesome when I could do like these tool reviews for you guys and get you like the best tools out there. I love this thing. This is a 200-foot measuring laser. So all you have to do is just point the laser, figure out how far it is, and boom, it'll tell you the distance. I love it. This is probably the best in the business. DeWalt actually has really good measuring technology. Really easy to read screen. You could see like how tall the ceiling is. A lot of times what we use this for is we're like, hey, we got to get a scissor lift. We got to see how high up we go. Boom, shoot it up there. Man, we got to go up 25 feet. All right, let's get a 19 footer. It should be fine. Then you can just measure across, be like, how far do we have to go? About 190 feet. So it's really cool. Like, this is a really good tool for you to have, like when you're estimating or trying to figure out, like, hey, how are we going to do this job? What are we going to do? How far do we have to travel over here, over there, over here, you know? And then you break that into your tools when you're going into like your estimating software and you're saying, hey man, this is a very difficult installation. We have to travel, 120 feet across this thing, and I couldn't even get my laser to shoot through all these people that are crossing across there. We've had this before in like active stores that we have to work in. And so that's what you do. You factor it in for like your very difficult, and then you charge the customer on a very difficult installation. And this will help you verify that. Like if it takes you like 3 times to get your laser to go across to see the distance you have to travel, you have a very difficult task, because you're going to be encountering pedestrians, you're going to be encountering all kinds of stuff. So it's just an extra tool that I like to have in your toolbox. And like I say, this is probably one of the best accurate measurement tools that I've seen out there. So David's saying that, yeah, there might be a timer.
I'm wondering if he clicked on it and left, and the timer was going, and he had his computer on, and it timed him out. He didn't answer anything, so I'll have to look at that.
All right. Yeah, we'll check that out, David. You're not going to win, so it doesn't matter. No, I'm just kidding. David's probably
Man,
gonna win.
David, I wouldn't put up with that.
Yeah, David's probably going to win. But, no, it's all good. No, but like I say, this is one of the best tools that I've seen for distance measuring. Like if you're an estimator or something, this has got to be in your toolbox. I try to do it for electricians. I also do it for like estimators, project managers, stuff like that. This is a really good tool for that. So that's all I got for that tool. But I like it.
And that will take care of your tool review of the week.
Yes, sir.
All right, you ready to do man versus machine?
Let's do it. Better be on.
For years, man tried to create artificial intelligence. On this segment, we find out, is AI smarter than King James?
All right, forgot to do the pickle shot for Adam. Cheers, Adam.
Get it down. All right. Let's see here. What do you got for me? Class 1 power limit in Article 725 shall be supplied from a source related to I think that's 30 volts. I think it's like 725 41A maybe, or 41, something like that.
I think it's 30 volts, but
I think it's 30. I'm not 100% positive. I think it's 30 volts.
Okay.
So
let's see what ChatGPT answers.
Okay, give me a second. I gotta go over, copy this, and then put it in. I should have done this before, but I forgot.
No, I mean, it's not a big deal. Like, dude, your record is like pretty high. I don't know, man. I'm wanting to say just off the top of my head, it's like around 50, but
Okay, got it. All right, now let's share the screen here. ChatGPT, there we go. Got it increased. Everybody should be able to see that pretty good.
I don't know why ChatGPT has problems with
Let's see what it says.
choice.
50 votes, 121.
Ooh,
I don't think that's right.
Is it right? Oh, we have a challenge. ChatGPT's challenging you.
All right, let me go to the NFPA link and let me go to 725.
Just so people understand that 50 volts is a powerful number in Class 2, Class 1. So we'll see if King James has what it takes to beat the man versus machine and crush ChatGPT 4A.
So in the 2023, there's no 725, 121. I didn't think there was.
It's 724, I think, in the 2023. They moved that shit. It was weird. Like, it was still, like, in 2020 it was 725, but they moved it to 724. It was really weird.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, yeah. 724.
Because, like, it was 725, 139 for the Class 2, Class 1 sharing raceways. And then they moved it to 724 for some reason. I don't know why they did that. But
here,
you were right on the, I want to say 724, 13 or 15 or so. It's right in there. It's, or no, what is it? I don't think it's that early.
Yeah, 724.40. It was 725.41 in the 2020. So it did get moved. Class 1 circuit shall be supplied from a source with a rated input not more than 30 volts and 1
Boom!
I'm right.
King James got it. I didn't want to tell you were right until you knew you were right. So.
Well, I thought I wasn't 100% sure, but I thought it was 30.
Yeah.
All right. So
that was one I knew I could probably fool ChatGPT on.
You are wrong. King James once again displays his full knowledge of the NEC. Section 724.40 states blah blah blah. Therefore, the 30 votes is the correct answer. If you need any further help from King James, just ask and he will set you straight concerning the NEC.
Oh, dude. Oh, man. Oh, I got to give you the clap on that one. Oh, man. That's awesome. That's awesome.
He said, touche, King James. You're absolutely right to call that out.
Yeah. 100%. Section and everything. Your profession, James. Your profession.
Your profession.
Yeah. So
I just couldn't let it go.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Dude, you're like, so, like, I think you only got like 5 or 6 wrong, like, this whole time.
3.
It was like 4 at least.
3.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not like I'm counting. So, like, if I'm
God,
not
I've
counting,
only done, what have I done, like 180 of them?
it's like 1 130, 120 something.
God, there's been a bunch, and
Yeah.
you don't ask the easy ones. It
Yeah.
ain't like something. What is the width of the working clearance? Or what is the minimum in front of your panel board enclosure? It ain't something simple. There are these wild ass questions.
Yeah. I do that on purpose so that like the apprentices know like how to dissect questions so that they know like right away you'll see King James when I ask those questions. He'd be like, "Oh, you got to go to 730, 724." Well, the thing that's so weird, I don't know why they changed this, but 725 was always like class 1, class 2, like intermixing, and then they somehow changed it to 724 in 2023. So it helps you guys as apprentices start learning the code. And it's funny because one of my apprentices, not going to name his name, was sitting there testing me on my podcast. Like, he's sitting there like, "What do you do on this?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, what do you do on that?" And I was like, "Dude, the whole reason I'm doing the podcast because I know it. And here's the section and here." And so that's what's so cool because King James instantly referenced 725. And
Yeah, I
he was
forgot.
right. He was right for 2020, but he wasn't right for 2023. And so that's the whole thing that's cool about this is ChatGPT got it wrong. But the reason that ChatGPT got it wrong is because ChatGPT doesn't have that new knowledge in its database, And so that's how I'm able to kind of hedge a little bit of an advantage for King James. Well, I could have just as easily given King James a wrong answer for referencing a wrong section, But the whole thing is that it's like he got the answer right, and the whole thing is that it's multiple choice. For some reason, that trips up ChatGPT. I don't understand why, but it doesn't like multiple choice. Like if
Actually, ChatGPT would have missed that anyway, because if you look in the 2020, 725.41 was for class 1, and when you went to 725.121, that was class 2 and 3.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. All right, let's go to Wall of Shame. You're gonna love this one, dude. This is class. This is not from Wall of Shame. This is from ECD for Awesome Electricians.
All right.
Shame. 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 Shame.
We have ultimate shame. Oh, dude, you're gonna love this one, man. Oh man, what he ate all the cookies and he just turned it into a J box. Man, it's hard to have words on that one.
Well, at least it's got a flower design to it.
Yeah, it was in a House with History is what it was called. So
House of
Yeah.
History.
Yeah.
They put a piece of history up there, didn't they?
yes, sir. But I know
Wow.
you got to get Pops over to get something to eat and stuff. And sorry for keeping you guys so long, but I really appreciate it. It's been an awesome time. I have a freaking awesome time doing it. And as always, remember, make every day an easy day.
Amen. We'll see some of y'all Monday. Y'all have a good weekend, guys.
Peace.